Streaming from the town, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Well, I'm pretty sure they're super busy at ESPN trying to figure out how LeBron James or Tom Brady or who's going to play quarterback for the Jets. I mean, can LeBron play? I mean, we know LeBron played in high school. Paul Hembekides joins us, the legendary Hembo, as we've said, author of the best-selling book. There you go. We'll make a great present for all sports fans as we, before you know it, are going to be at the holidays. I don't know. Is it Phillip Rivers? Is it LeBron? Is it Tom Brady? Who's going to play quarterback for the Jets?
I spent the last 4 months on paternity leave from May through August. I spent way more time thinking about Zack Gelof than I spent thinking about Aaron Rodgers. I come back. I'm at ESPN for a week before we kick off the season, just working my way back, getting my sea legs beneath me, and 4 freaking plays. The NFL schedule, the NFL hype machine, the ESPN Greeny Twitter mob, like the whole thing down in one fell swoop, in a heap, on a freak play on some artificial turf in the swamp in New Jersey. It is a sordid tale, my friend, here on the East Coast.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Like, you just can't believe all the hype, everything that went into it, and you're like, 4 plays, 75 seconds, and he's done for the year? That's just, you can't make that up.
You can't make it up. It could not have possibly happened to any other fan base aside from the New York Jets, which I think this is now proof positive beyond any shadow of a doubt that this is a cursed fan base, perhaps the most cursed fan base in all of sports. But candidly, for as much as you and I joke around about, the hype machine and all of the Aaron Rodgers of it all the last few years, much of which was manufactured, this is as big a letdown as I can ever recall seeing in sports in my lifetime. Never has there ever been a player with more hype surrounding his change of team and his debut. Like, this guy's running out on Monday Night Football in front of 80,000 people carrying the American flag. And minutes later, I mean, it almost feels like a fever dream. I don't remember anything ever happening quite like this in any sport in my lifetime. Look, maybe I don't have the frame of reference here, but this really struck me as something that, like, in the moment is sort of an all-timer.
So, most watched game, Monday Night Football history on ESPN. So, what would be the bigger moment? This or Jimmy Hoffa being buried in the end zone at the Meadowlands? Which is a bigger moment?
By the way, can you believe that in the history of ESPN on Monday Night Football on ESPN, this is number 1? And it was number 1, and this guy only played for 4 snaps. Like, the collective interest in this, as you demonstrated, is just astronomical. Like, people always ask me, yourself included, why do you guys spend so much time talking about X, Y, or Z? In some cases, why do you guys spend so much time talking about Aaron Rodgers? Well, it seems like the collective interest of the whole country was fixated upon MetLife Stadium on Monday night, and in a puff of smoke, it all disappeared. But, like, look, this guy obviously resonates with the national audience, and the fact that we're going to get to watch Zach Wilson play like 4 or 5 more primetime games is an absolute disaster for the NFL. We're going to watch him and Patrick Mahomes play on the same football field in a month, and that is going to be a sight for sore eyes, or a sight that creates sore eyes.
This is why when we always rip, why do they play Yankees, Red Sox? This is a great example because this was Jets, Bills. This was not New York Football Giants against the Dallas Cowboys. This was the secondary team playing the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, the Bills are a chic team. They've been good, but this is Jets. This isn't the glory. This isn't the Cowboys and the Giants or and this is the most watched game ever. Yeah, so it puts all of us West Coasters back in our place where you realize this is what the country, when you put a top storied New York team or East Coast team or Red Sox, Yankees, there's a reason why.
Yeah, there is a reason why. And it was my belief that now that Tom Brady had retired, Aaron Rodgers, in effect, becomes the face of the whole league. Now, some people might argue that should be Patrick Mahomes, who's pretty clearly the best player.
But that's Kansas City, small market.
Right. You've been doing this long enough to know that you accrue fame in life by being famous for a really, really long time, by being on television for decades. That's why all of the presidents that we elect are 80 years old, right? Like, the amount of time that you've spent being famous is huge. Aaron Rodgers was next in line after Tom Brady. and we got 4 plays of it. It's going to wind up going down as one of the huge sports disasters of this time, regardless of whether or not he plays in the future. My hope, sort of as an ancillary point, my hope is that we use this moment, and I'm going to make a baseball analogy for you. We use this moment kind of like we used in 2011 to create the Buster Posey rule. So Buster Posey was struck at home plate. They changed the rule forever. We had been playing baseball for one way for 140 years. Buster Posey breaks his leg. All of a sudden, we decided we couldn't do it that way anymore. Why on God's green earth are we still playing football on artificial turf? For God's sake, it is an absolute disgrace that this is still a thing, in my opinion. We know for sure, based upon all of the modeling, that it would cost the NFL almost no money. It'd be a drop in the bucket. $11.9 million would be the estimated initial cost to create a grass surface on every field that there is. That is a rounding error for a $25 billion enterprise. I don't care about the Taylor Swift concert, about Monster Truck. Let's figure out a way for these people to be playing a highly dangerous game on grass. I don't know that Aaron Rodgers' injury would not have occurred if it were not played on turf. What I do know is that it sure didn't help. And given the fact that the players have purported all these studies with all this data that say, it's pretty clear, guys, this is a more dangerous playing surface, that injuries like this happen more frequently, and also the severity of injuries like this are exacerbated as a result. This, to me, seems like a really easy fix, and much like Buster Posey in 2011, now we have our flashpoint. Now we have our touchstone moment to make that change.
Hit by Scott Cousins, not Kirk Cousins, by the way. A good thing for you as a father, since you brought old Swifty up, good news for you is by the time your kids are older, she's going to be older, so she'll kind of be out of. Swifty just came to town and got me for a 4th time. She's got me 4th time.
Wow.
She's got me twice at Levi Stadium and twice at the Shark Tank. She has got me 4 times.
She is living rent-free in your checking account, my friend.
Oh,
so
my God. I said to my wife, I go, do you know how much money we've contributed to this woman? It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
So this is something of a humble brag. I'm not a Swiftie. My wife is a card-carrying Swiftie and has been for many years. We actually saw her in May when she came to the Meadowlands at MetLife Stadium. She did not hurt herself on that turf, but we know a friend. We know someone in the band, so we got like the friends and family discount, and that was an ungodly amount of money.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even want to know how many commas were in your StubHub account for purchasing those tickets.
And my wife had to sit there and be on the computer forever, and it finally popped up, and just to have the chance to go, what you got to pay. All right,
we can't move off of this before we bring up the Travis Kelce of it all. The specter of this is far too significant. I assume you've heard the Taylor Swift Travis Kelce dating rumors, and if so, I assume that you have formed a strong opinion by now.
I mean, seriously, I like the Kelce brothers, the New Heights podcast. I'll do deep dives sometimes because I think Jason's really fascinating as a center and being an Eagles fan, and I like him a lot. He's a great player, but I'm a little Kelce'd out, so I'm not ready for Swifty Kelce.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's not built for this. He's not built for this.
You're not in Kansas. This isn't Kansas City anymore. Next thing you know, you don't do it right, you're going to end up on some song, and every chick is going to think you're the worst guy in the world. Don't do it. Pull the plug. Pull it back. Quickly, before we get to the stuff you want to get into, I have a comp for Zack Gelof. Are you ready?
Hit me.
And this is going to go with your book that hopefully will come out about Baseball Hall of Famers someday. My comp, when I think it's second base, taller second base, power to all fields, could run. Because remember, this player I'm going to give you used to run when he was younger, really strong defensively. I think the comp for Zack Gelof is Ryan Sandberg.
High praise. Really, really high praise. Ryan Sandberg, arguably the best second baseman this side of Joe Morgan. Ryan Sandberg, I think, in the grand scheme of things, a little bit underrated. Actually, a player who I believe is superior to Roberto Alomar, who I think a lot of people consider the greatest second baseman of the last 50 years. I think Rhino was a better player. He was frankly, the numbers say he was a superior defender. He was an excellent runner, had an absolutely brilliant peak, a great player. I think Zack Gelof could definitely be a poor man's Ryan Sandberg. I like everything that I see from that kid. I picked him up in my fantasy team very early on in his career, so I've been following him just selfishly because of that. And anytime I watch the A's play, he's always someone that really jumps off the screen. I love the skill set. I honestly feel like I should have known more about him as an amateur. A UVA kid, right? Who has a really like polished profile coming out of that program. What I like most about him, like I didn't realize he had that kind of zing in the bat. Like I thought Zack Gelof was going to be more of like a Punch and Judy type hitter whose power comes to him. Like especially in that ballpark, like he hits for a lot more power, has a lot more punch in that barrel than I would have expected. And with the mastery of the strike zone that he already has at that age, like he's practically in his prime now. When you draft these kids out of college that are advanced and have these sort of old man skills, for lack of a better term, and in this case, he's kind of an underrated athlete. I honestly I consider this kid a potential all-star. Ryan Sandberg's a tough comp because he's a Hall of Famer, but you can dream big. And when I see this kid play, I see a perennial all-star contender at that position, especially because of all the tools in that kid of his. I'm a huge fan of his game.
Think about it. Your first time ever facing Justin Verlander, and why I have one of the reasons why I have the Sandberg comp is because Sandberg had power to all fields. We're seeing that with Gelof. He's foul pole to foul pole. Your first time ever facing Justin Verlander, double off the right field wall, double down the left field line. How many guys the first time they ever face Justin Verlander go 2 for 2 doubles?
I mean, I would have asked Justin Verlander for his autograph if I faced him for the first time. That's how much older he is than Zack Gelof. The reason why I think what you said is so incredibly important, and I want to make sure that I underline this and say this properly. If you can drive the ball with conviction to the opposite field, it means you see it better than most people, right? It's one thing to catch the ball out front and drive it out of the park to your pull side. If you can allow that ball to travel in the hitting zone further away from your body and you can drive it to the opposite field, your hand-eye coordination is off the charts. And if you're facing a pitcher as good as Justin Verlander that early in your career and you're not taking defensive swings and you can, for lack of a better term, backleg that pitch and backspin it to right field the way that he did, the way that he can, that's a rare skill. Because not only does it demonstrate that he has this pull-to-pull power as you demonstrated, but that's going to play up in other ways because it shows to me that he has the ability to allow that baseball to travel, and so he's going to have to guess less frequently than most players. If you have to guess less frequently than most players, your misses aren't going to be swings and misses. They're going to be foul tips, or maybe they're going to be ground balls through. Your misses, for lack of a better term, are not going to be nearly as pronounced. All of a sudden, you've created a lot more productive at-bats, and the range of outcomes for yourself is a lot wider. Like, you've created a situation now where a bad swing is a single instead of a swing and a miss. That was a long way of saying that. But I really like this kid's game, and I think the Verlander point is a good one because it shows he has skills in his bag that some really good hitters never develop, and he's got it. He had them in the big leagues from day one.
Breaking news in Major League Baseball, Max Scherzer will be the quarterback for the New York Jets. Week 2. No. Max Scherzer is done for the year. It is a low-grade teres major strain. I mean, I know he was dealing with biseminal tendonitis. That's something that I had. But Max Scherzer is out for the remainder of the regular season. They say the regular season, not the postseason, the regular season. Boy, that's not good news for the Texas Rangers, who have already been taking. They've had 2 really good wins in Toronto, but they've been taking on a lot of water.
That's a devastating blow. The amount of capital that they gave up for Max Scherzer, the amount that they needed him for the rest of the stretch run, and the amount that they would need him for the postseason was obviously significant. But I hate to say that this was foreseeable, but this is kind of the Max Scherzer that I've come to expect. I mean, he doesn't suffer he hasn't suffered these major season-ending injuries in the past, but he really limped to the finish line last year after struggling with his health throughout the season. This is what happens when you're a pitcher with an advanced age with all those moving parts in your mechanics. Like Max Scherzer doesn't have it. Like he doesn't throw it easy. You know, like he doesn't have the same luxury as other pitchers that have aged well. Like he's a max effort guy. You know, pun not intended. Like he's not the kind of guy that can just let it go free and easy. And so I suppose we should not consider this much of a surprise for someone that has that much going on with his body, with that head whip, with all the things that he's been able to maintain for so long. But you know this, like you pitched at a high level, at least to some degree. Like pitching, it's a high wire act. It's a balancing act because like what makes Max Scherzer great in some sense is all that stuff, right? Like the way that he's able to max effort on every pitch and blow that cheese up in the zone and then break off that slider in the bottom half and everything in between. But what goes into that is such that now, like when you're not able to survive at 90%, unfortunately, this is what happens. And with someone at this age making $43 million a year, you wonder if we're ever going to get that version of Max Scherzer ever again. It's a sad day.
All right, let's get into some notes here from baseball. your neck of the woods, big news. David Stearns, a lot of people love him, thinks he's a really bright guy, what he did with the Brewers, now hired to run the New York Mets. How do you like the move?
I like the move a lot for the Mets. This was probably the worst kept secret in baseball over the last year. It seemed sort of a fait accompli that he would come over from Milwaukee to the Mets. This is obviously being viewed and painted here locally as Andrew Friedman 2.0. So obviously Andrew Friedman has just an enormous success in a small market in Tampa. The Dodgers poach him away. He's effectively been able to build a baseball empire out in Los Angeles with this really shrewd drafting and player development system that enables them to regenerate while at the same time being able to spend gobs and gobs of money. So you never effectively have to rebuild and you can remain competitive almost perpetually as you regenerate that system. That's obviously going to be the frame of reference that the Mets and their fans use for everything that David Stearns does. It seems like Billy Epler, their current GM, will sort of report to him, for lack of a better term. And so they're going to have that kind of brain trust at the top. To me, Billy Epler's track record is spotty at best, candidly. But this is a good move by Steve Cohen, who recognized sort of a void in leadership in that sense in his organization. And David Stearns is just objectively great at his job. They've had excellent records during the time in which he's been there, and they have been outstanding in the world of run prevention. They haven't really done a great job of in scouting and player dev. He does a great job of identifying talent in other organizations, and their player development staff has been excellent. That has been excellent. The fact that they've been able to turn out Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns and Freddie Peralta and Josh Hader previously, like they definitely build high-end pitching talent and have been able to find those guys in places that you might not expect. So if you can couple that genius with the fact that the Mets can outspend everyone by an order of magnitude, you make better decisions on the free agent market. There is no obvious reason why the Mets can't be great. And Steve Cohen is going to leave no stone unturned in making that team great. And for my money, David Stearns is a really good place to start. The one note that I'll add here is that Craig Counsell, his manager previously in Milwaukee, is a free agent. And I think there's a non-zero chance that Craig Counsell winds up following him there. I think they'll make him the highest paid manager in baseball. I think Buck Showalter, whom I believe is a remarkably overrated manager, will get the boot. I think that'll be an easy thing for them to do. I don't know it for sure, but if Craig Counsell's available and Steve Cohen wants to pay him, then he's going to be their manager next year and not Buck.
Yeah, with all you just said, it sounds great. Stearns is going to the Mets. He's screwed. That's just how it works. He's going to the Mets, Jets, Mets. It is what it is. All right. I was just a little bit earlier. We're going to play it later. We taped a segment with Tony Gwynn Jr., broadcaster for the Padres, and obviously he's in Los Angeles. They're taking on the Dodgers. And I was reading off all this stuff about Freddie Freeman, who turned 34 yesterday, like all these great things he's doing. You think of all the great things Matt Olson's doing. They got no chance at the MVP, and they're having unbelievable years. I mean, you can imagine Freddie Freeman's doing all this. He's got no shot. Matt Olson's doing all this. Got no shot. This is Acuna. This is Betts. Where are you going?
Yeah, Freeman is going to have 60 doubles, and Olson's going to have 60 homers, and they're going to finish
third. They got no shot.
So the NL MVP discussion this year is a fascinating one. And I know you want me to come on and have some sort of provocative opinion and a strong take, because I am, after all, an ESPN employee. But honestly, I can't do that in good conscience.
I mean, it's in the book. You're a hot cake artist.
Yeah, we're selling off the shelves here, man. Hotcakes. The right answer here is that there are two right answers to this question. And that's not an interesting thing to say. It's not a provocative opinion, but these are two players having uniquely outstanding seasons. And it really comes down to what your priority is as a voter. So I'm not a voter. I want to make that clear. But if I were to put myself in the shoes of a voter, to me, this is a close enough thing that I'd be looking to break ties. Acuna's going to have the 40 homer, 70 steal thing, which is super cool and flashy. Betts obviously has statistical advantages in a variety of ways and is probably going to have the advantage in all the versions of wins above replacement. For me, the reason why I would lean towards Mookie Betts is the fact that he provides his manager remarkable and unprecedented position versatility. Mookie Betts, on a whim this year, has played nearly 60 games at second base, and he's done so positively. He's plus in terms of his defensive run saved, his outs above average. Mookie Betts is adding value at the third or fourth most important position on the diamond, and he's doing that in order to enable Jason Hayward to play right field, who hits a lot better than whomever the Dodgers might be playing at second base. Let's think about that for a second. He's also, by the way, played 16 games at short. He's got an OPS of 1,000 at all three positions. So let's think about this for a second, right? This guy is having a ludicrous season as a hitter. Not quite the Acuna season because he doesn't have the steals, but he's having a ludicrous season as a hitter. And he is doing something that a lot of people that train their entire lives to do can't do as well as him. play second base at an above league average level. That is an insane proposition, my friend. Mookie Betts is one of the best athletes to ever play this game. What he is doing is impossibly hard. What he is doing is one step below what Shohei Ohtani did for 3 years. To be able to just play second base and do it that well while also mashing at the top of the order to give your manager the opportunity to fill out the best lineup card he possibly can, to me, is the tiebreaker, which is why if I had to vote today, I would go Mookie, but I also have the right to change my mind over the next 3 weeks.
I'm with you. I'd vote Mookie too. By the way, the only guy to miss more time at work than you is Mike Trout. We can sit here all we want, and no one's seen Mike Trout more than us, and he's, other than Barry Bonds, was the best player I've ever seen. Other than Barry Bonds, he was, but I can't get the guy on the field. The guy hadn't played in 150 games since 2016. Since 2016, he's only played 141 time. You've got a ton of money left on the deal. Who would want that? I mean, he can't stay healthy.
He's owed $35 million annually through 2030. It's a ton of money. It's a huge commitment. And because of his health concerns, it is an enormous risk. So the Angels are either going to – I can't believe I'm saying this about literally Mickey Mantle. But the Angels are either going to have to give him away, right, and accept almost nothing in return, or effectively buy prospects, right? Because that's – there's not a third option where you get everything that you want from another team and they're willing to pay you everything. Unfortunately, that ship has sailed on Mike Trout. Like, it's really sad, like, what has happened here. But Mike Trout has gone from being, like, the player who I believed was going to be the best player we had seen since Barry Bonds. And if you throw him out, literally Henry Aaron, he was on that kind of trajectory and presumably clean, to a player now who you literally forget about because he's obscured by the fact that he never played and that he never plays, and the fact that his team stinks on ice. It's terribly ashamed. Now, I think it's still worth having the thought exercise. Who might be able to? Who might want Mike Trout? So I'm going to give you 3 teams, and I want you to tell me if any of these 3 teams match up with your list.
Okay.
Naturally, my okay, sorry. My hometown Phillies have to be on this list. Let me explain myself. I got 3 teams for you. The first is the Phillies, and it's merely because we know they're a big market. They're willing to spend, and we know Mike Trout is a Philly guy, loves Philly through and through. It would be a homecoming of sorts. Seeing him play left field while Bryce Harper's playing right field would really be something to behold, and they have enough prospect capital if they're willing just to blow through the luxury tax. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the Giants. The reason I think the Giants are an interesting team is because they have swung and missed on so many free agents they pretended to try to get in years past. So they actually have the money, right? They actually have the money to spend if they want to, and they can really sell Mike Trout as, you can be the face of our franchise. This is something that we've missed since having Buster Posey, and we can sell you on that. Who knows if he can stay healthy wherever he goes, but at least the Giants can pay him and theoretically need him. And the third is the Baltimore Orioles. And this is going to be a peculiar one because they don't spend any money. They don't spend any money. But if we're living in a world in which the Angels are willing to buy prospects, the Orioles have gobs and gobs and gobs of prospects. The Orioles have the number 1 farm system in baseball. The Orioles also have so little future money tied up that they could probably afford to pay Mike Trout $20 or $25 million a year if we're living in a world in which they decide they want to avert from what they've done for so many years, which is cry poor and play small market in the American League East, right? Again, this is Mike Trout coming to the East Coast to an up-and-coming team and can provide like the sort of veteran presence that they just don't have, which might wind up being their undoing in the playoffs. So to me, it's the Phillies, the Giants, and the Orioles as just 3 like top-of-head teams as I did the thought exercise to prepare for today. That makes some sense. What say you?
I hear you on Philly. Giants, Baltimore, that's out of left field. I think it's a dumb play, and I think the one team that would make the dumb play is the Yankees. The Yankees are always going to look for stardom. We can keep them healthy. We'll do like an NBA load management. I think the Yankees would be the team that I think Philly and New York, I think it's got to be an East Coast team because I know people brought up Dodgers. There is no way the Angels are going to have him in LA right next door. And if he does turn back into Mike Trout, you got to live with that every day in your market. No way. They want his ass out of here. By the way, quickly, because I know you got to go. We both grew up huge Phillies fans. You and I grew up. It was Larry Bow on my wall. It was Vaughn Hayes on my wall. You know how much I love the Phillies. You think our Phillies can go on another run here?
I think the Phillies are going to be live in the playoffs again. The National League is more open for discussion than I thought it might be. Do the Braves have the best team? Yes. The Braves clearly and obviously have the best team. That lineup is ridiculous. I mean, the Braves have one of the best lineups I have ever seen. Like the Braves have, like the bottom third of the Braves order can play in the middle of almost any order in baseball. It's like the depth and length of that lineup combined with the star power makes it one of the best ever. They might be the first team ever to slug 500 as a team. Nuts. Absolutely crazy what the Braves are doing. But I wonder about the pitching. Like, I really wonder about that pitching. It was their undoing in the playoffs last year. They obviously got representative pitching the year before when they won the championship. But I watched the Phillies ambush the Braves in that series in the NLDS last year. I was there for Game 3, the Rhys Hoskins bat spike game, the Bryce Harper home run back to back. Like I was there. Like I felt that. And the Braves are a team that historically has underachieved in the playoffs. That's not necessarily predictive, but I'm not sure that they have the pitching that the Phillies do. Candidly, the Phillies have way more people that I trust. Whether it be starters, whether it be swingmen, whether it be relievers on the back end, even though they're not pitching that great right now, because Rob Thompson really manipulated that bullpen very effectively last year. Right now, Trey Turner is as hot as anybody in the sport. Bryce Harper last year carried the Phillies to the World Series. There's so many dudes in that lineup that can swing your win probability. To me, if I'm going to rank this stuff, I think the Braves have the best chance, of course. I think the Phillies are second, though, ahead of the Dodgers, given all the pitching issues that they have. And candidly, the American League is like throwing a dart. So, like, to me, if you were to ask me right this second who I think have the best chance of getting to the series, in order, 1 Braves, 2 Phillies, and then I throw my hands up. I have no idea.
Only thing that matters in sports right now, we're going for the sweep of the Astros today.
Hey, by the way, I just hit the floor twice loudly with my foot, which means you got to change up. So just sit and drive that the other way, all right?
I mean, you're a bestseller. You're on TV. You're young. You're good looking. You got kids now. I mean, the world is your oyster.
I mean, I'll tell you what, man. You are right. I do have kids now. That's about all I can say.
All right, buddy. Be well, my friend. Continued success. We'll talk soon.
You're a good man.
And we'll keep promoting. You got kids. I got to get
You're the best man.